In today's video, we're going to update this old bookshelf. It has a few layers of latex paint, but it was made from all wood, so I think we're going to remove the layers of paint and update it using Dixie Belle's silk. This bookshelf is being repurposed into an entryway shelving unit. Underneath all of the layers of latex paint is some wood and some wood grain. And I think to update this, we want to see a little bit of that wood grain. So I do have to use my Citristrip to strip off all the latex paint. Stripping latex paint, especially from a piece that is fully painted, can be just a real big hassle. Usually I take it in sections and I will apply it in sections, then put plastic wrap over it and then start scraping it off. But I was being impatient and I did the whole entire piece, which I should have followed my regular process, and I'll leave a link in the description box below so you guys can see what that process is, and I'll leave an iCard because it took me longer and it was a lot more work and it was so messy. I think it's better to be organized when you're doing it and to actually take the time and just do it in sections, because I'm telling you, it's such a mess. Just in case you don't check out the other video, I wanted to show you how I get in all the grooves. These little wire brushes come in fine, medium, and coarse grits, or brass, steel, and then just plastic. So if you were doing something that you wanted to work on gently, you could just do the plastic. If you were having a really hard time getting into some crevices, you would probably go to the steel. After the mineral spirits wash, I let it all dry overnight so I have no more tackiness to it, and then I take my orbital sander and I'm just sanding down all of the flat spots. Then to get all the latex stuck in the corners, I switch and I use my mouse sanders to get in the corners. Now for the backer board, I did a little test spot and I tried a classic gray, just a regular stain. I think it was Minwax's, and I just wasn't thrilled about the color. So now I'm using the Dixie Belle No Paint Gel stain in the weathered gray, and I really like the coverage on this one, so I'm gonna go with that. I'm not worried if I get it anywhere else except the backboard, because I'm going to be painting it anyway and it'll just cover up once it's dry. Once I have the gel stain fully applied, I end up taking my shop towel and wiping any of the excess back. I just wipe it all off. I want to make sure that I can still see the wood grain through. Now I'm prepping for paint and I'm taping off the stain using painter's tape. Now to paint the rest of this, I'm using Dixie Belle Silk in the color Black Sands. I'm going to apply it with a dry brush, and that's going to be the Scarlet brush. And I just want to make sure that I mix it up really good so that nothing's laying on the bottom. Since it's an all-in-one, a primer, paint, and sealer, you want to make sure you give it a good mix to mix up all those properties. When you're working with a client, I think it's best to have some materials. You can decide the colors if they're giving you free reign and saying, you just decide, that's fun, that's awesome. But I like to make sure that they're getting exactly what they want. So I did show her the Dixie Belle color cards. There's a little card that you get for free sometimes when you order your paint or if you go into the retailer. And I showed her that one for the silk, and I showed her all the chalk paints. And Gravel Road was pretty close to this one, but not exact. And she really liked Black Sands, so we went with Black Sands. She also sent me a picture of where this would be going, the color of the wall, the color of the rug, just so that we knew we were sort of matching and it would all be very cohesive. And that is so helpful when you're doing commission work or work for a client, get an idea, get a feel so that you're not confused and you're not feeling like, is this going to match? Are they going to like it? You know, you want to be going into your project with confidence. So get as much information as you can from your client. And if you can, I like the peace of mind that they picked the color. So if they don't like it, it's kind of on them. And I want to show you, if this was a piece for my own home, I probably wouldn't paint the top. But since it's for somebody else and, you know, they might be taking their shoes off, she said she was using this as an entryway piece. Maybe they're going to store hats in the winter and things. More than likely, they're going to be able to see everything. So I made sure that I painted even the parts that weren't going to be seen, because you want everything to look nice and clean for your client. You want it to look very professional. So just make sure sometimes you put that extra step in. Well, I must not have hit the record button because I'm missing a step. I was just doing some editing and I'm missing a huge step. I want to show you guys exactly what I did. I already did my one coat of the no paint gel stain, and I decided when I took the blue tape off that it looked really dull. So I wanted to add another, and I did, and I think it looks really great. But I did this a little bit different. I didn't just put it on with a rag, and especially because I had already taken my blue tape off. I had blue tape on there. So, I can't believe I didn't record, but I just took this pack outside, set everything up, and then I used this little craft brush. It's on an angle, and I dabbed it in there, and then I would just carefully go along the edges, and then I would just go up, and I never wiped it back. I just kept it on there, and this coat went on so nice. You can still see the wood grain through. It just looks really even and pretty. With my craft brush, I just went right across, making that line nice and crisp, and then I went down, and I was just blending the stain, and that's how it came up so nice. My lines are super nice. You can still see the grain, so it just turned out really pretty this way. So just to sum it up really quick, I used the no paint gel stain in weathered gray on my second coat, and I used my craft brush for the second coat. I just applied it as I would paint, but really carefully so that I didn't put too much on my brush. You don't want to glob it on there or it'll just take forever to dry. It dried overnight, because I never wiped it off. I just wanted it to be a nice thin coat, you know, blended, looked really nice, just to get those crisp lines. And that's what we did. I'm sorry I didn't record. There were two little shelves on the inside, so I'm just cleaning them up. I actually have a 320 grit on here, so I'm not trying to sand anything off. I'm just making it nice and smooth because they're a little rough. And then I'm gonna apply my no paint gel stain. And I'm only doing one coat of the no paint gel stain on the shelves. They're on the inside, and one coat will look just fine. So I start on one side and the edges, I let it dry for a couple hours, and then I flip it, come back, and I do the other side. And for the sealer, I'm using the Dixie Belle Top Coat Satin. I just pour it into another container because I don't ever want to risk contaminating my sealer for my next project. I know you're probably thinking, wait a minute, you use silk and silk already has a sealer in it, But because this is for a client and it's not for me, I'm gonna go the extra mile and just do one more coat of sealer just to make sure that it's fully protected, because the last thing that I want to do is give a piece to somebody and then they say, oh, it chipped or something like that. And I know it's not gonna, but for me, I just like that peace of mind. I don't want to stress. When this goes out the door to their house, I don't really want to think about it again. I want to just feel confident that I gave them a really great piece. So putting one more coat of sealer on, that's sort of what I have to do for my own peace of mind. And I know a lot of people have a hard time applying a sealer to dark colors, but when you're using silk is not porous like chalk paint, so it's not that hard to apply the sealer. It's pretty smooth. You got a smooth finish anyway afterwards, so the sealer goes on pretty smooth. But I wanted to show you anyway how I'm doing it. I'm applying it in pretty long strokes, and then I do go back. It's in rows, so I want to make sure that I smooth out that line between the top and the bottom row. And that's kind of key when you're applying your sealer, to make sure that that line is smooth and it's not showing, because once it's showing, that's sort of where you get some streaks. So make sure that it just is all very smoothed out. And applying your sealer to the smaller sections is much, much easier. It's those big tabletops or long sections that you kind of got to worry about streaking. When I was painting the hinges, I painted right over it, and I don't want to keep that because I know it's not going to stick. I didn't put slick stick or any adhesion primer on there, so because it's the material metal, it's going to come off eventually and chip. So I'm just taking my scraper, I scraped off all the paint, and then I'm using some silver gilding wax to just touch it up. And this gilding wax is oil based, so there's just no way it's coming off. I'm so happy to report that the bookshelf was a hit. My client was thrilled. She loves it so much. And she actually sent me home. We dropped it off and she sent me home with 2 end tables and a coffee table that I'm going to paint. If you like this video, I would appreciate it so much if you hit the like and subscribe button, because that is helping my channel to grow and helps YouTube bring it out to more people, which ultimately helps me to keep doing what I love.